Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the TCG Player Invitational Qualifier here at Apex Gaming. I'm Tandy, joined by Mason Clark. So, hi, Mason.
Hi, Mason.
We have 4 rounds in the books. We're in the last round of Swiss. The players we're about to watch all have win-ins for the top 8, and they're going to be trying to win their fair share of the $2,000 prize pool, as well as an invitation to our invitational in October. Let's head on down to the feature match area and watch this match and see who takes it down. On one side of the table, we're going to be seeing the classic Ruby Amethyst control that we all come to know and loathe. And we're also going to be facing off against Emerald Amethyst Aggro from Joel Drago. We saw Campo last round, couldn't quite get the job done, ultimately ended in a draw. And now here we got our back against the wall, but the winner is punching their ticket to the top 8.
Yeah, Campo lost last round to a very similar deck. I'm curious to see how they adapt against this one.
All right. Going to start off with a Flynn Rider here. Is Matthew Campo, is Joel Drago. And Campo needs to have something to interact here, or else two lore turn could be quite damaging.
Looks like Aladdin is the ink and just a pass of the turn.
All right, maybe need something like Rafiki next turn. Flynn Rider here, going to punish that too, though, making them discard a card.
Flynn Rider very good against the the Ruby Amethyst control deck here.
Yeah, when your primary way of interacting with characters is to challenge them with things like Gaston and Maui, cards like Flynn Rider, Cusco, they really punish your opponent for interacting in that way.
Yeah, and you want to make all of your first 7 ink drops every turn as the Ruby Amethyst. So getting a card discarded, even if your choice, sometimes means, well, I gotta discard the strong card and just hope I draw another one because I have to have 7 mana to work.
All right, Campo here under the gun. Let's see if he has something to deploy on turn 3. Nothing on 1 or 2. If there's nothing on 3, you have to imagine this might be a little too hard for him to come back from. But here's Rafiki, the bad Mama Jamma, going to come down and eat Flynn Rider. We're going to discard a card, but that's not such a big deal. We got a Gripful.
Yeah, and this Rafiki coming down is something we haven't actually seen much from our Ruby Amethyst control players today. They've just not had it on curve, and it's been like a 6 or a 7 turn play where it's been fine, but this is where it really shines, right? We're going to kill the Flynn, we're going to get rid of this Cheshire if the Cheshire Deer goes to combat, and that's going to be a huge difference for Joel here.
I think the only problem I have with Rafiki is that it's not inkable. It's obviously a very strong card. The moment you play with or against it, you realize that it's going to be one of your greatest tools against the aggressive strategies. But the fact that it's not inkable, combined with the fact that many of your late game cards like Be Prepared, Dragon's Fire, Ursula, and Elsa all cannot be inked, means that you have to make concessions somewhere. And the majority of players who play the Ruby Amethyst control often trim down to just 2 copies of Rafiki.
Yeah, I personally play 3, but I trim on some of the top end, and maybe that's wrong if there's a lot of Ruby Amethyst going around, but it's all about concessions on where you're gonna do it, and it's definitely one of those cards where it's just so good on curve and still fine later, right? Which is a sign of a great card, as it does trade into the Cheshire Cat here.
All right. Joel Drago, though, does have a Hans at the ready to start questing for 3. And Campo here looking to deploy something that can challenge it, but I'm not sure that he has anything just yet. He can play Aladdin here to take a lore from Joel, but can't challenge the Hans next turn. Maybe looking for something like a Maui hero to all, but doesn't look like he has it in hand just yet.
Well, we do have the 7 mana or the 7 ink Aladdin in hand, so we can ink shift and attack, and that'd be a really powerful turn for Matthew if he's allowed to do it.
All right, looks like we're thumbing Pocket Watch as the ink for turn. We had that in Maleficent Sorceress. Going to go with the Pocket Watch. Going to value heavily the ability to shift this Aladdin next turn. We'll see if Drago sniffs it out and plays around as best he can. Maybe doesn't quest with a Hans this turn, huh?
Yeah, that definitely be a good way to stop that from happening. From the other side, spending mana for it, sort of into magic moment there of like, was this good? And he's like,
Any
yeah,
responses?
yeah.
Does this resolve?
If we have a way to bounce this Aladdin, that'd be a good way to sort of do it. But looks like Joel's decided that I can beat a shifted Aladdin if it comes down.
Well, or I just hope you don't have it. Got a quest for 3 when I can, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's a big thing too that we haven't talked much about today. But sometimes, and with no ink there for I believe for Joel, sometimes your hand just won't allow you to do something, right? Like you want to be able to play around a card, but you just can't afford to. And if your hand won't let you do something, you just sometimes it's better just to play into the card because you're not going to beat it anyways.
All right, here comes Aladdin the Outlaw. Gonna chew up that Hans. We're gonna steal 2 lore, gain 2 lore. Let's get Aladdin Heroic Outlaw on the screen. That's a 7, cost 5/5, but it does have shift 5, and we just shifted onto the baby Aladdin. Daring Exploit says whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore, and each opponent loses 2 lore. A very, very strong card from Chapter 1.
Mm-hmm. Each opponent as well, highlighting maybe some multiplayer stuff in the future here for Lorcana. Maybe a little 2-headed giant, first to 30 lore. Could be kind of cool, the tag team situation. It does look like
that's fun to use.
Yeah,
Playing in big groups where you all ignore each other.
I mean, in a tag team situation, you know.
All right, well, Cusco's the play for Drago. We're going to start with friends on the other side from Campo. We're going to draw 2. Looking for some inkables so we can hit these ink drops so we can start casting our big cards later on. Gonna ink a broom. That one not so good in this matchup. You want that for the Ruby Amethyst mirror where games get down to decking sometimes and you need those brooms to shuffle your other brooms back into the deck.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a funny spot here where you can quest for 2, but then maybe it exposes it, but also it's just going to probably get you 2 lore anyway. So if your opponent doesn't have an answer, this is just a really powerful play.
Yeah, if it was something like Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, oftentimes you want to just like not quest with it because once you expose it to your opponent's challenges, you lose a lot of its value because its value comes from being able to banish in combat from attacking. In this instance, though, the outlaw is just if it trades for the Cusco, it while questing, that is an absolute dubski. All right, here's a friends on the other side, and then a Rafiki comes down. We're gonna bang the drum on the outlaw and then gain 3 from the Cusco. This was maybe worst case scenario for Campo's decision to quest with the outlaw, but I don't think it's a bad play. I think it's just a punish for a play that you are incentivized to make.
Yep. Campo has a lot of the big cards, and 7 is just on the line of being a little scared here. So Matthew luckily gets this turn to sort of develop some threat. We'll see, had a lot of bias towards Ursula last round. Ended up losing that one. Let's see if we adapt our play and maybe develop this Aladdin.
All right, here's an Ursula that's going to drain some lore and draw a card. Still can't challenge the Cusco down yet, and it has ward, so Cusco looking pretty scary here. Now, this is going to be a friends on the other side Sang for Campo. And one little trick you can do next turn if you're Campo is you can send Ursula into Cusco first, dealing 2 damage to it, but not killing it. And when you do that, then the Maleficent can trade for the Cusco, and the ability doesn't trigger except on the Maleficent. So see if Campo sniffs that one out and Drago maybe plays around it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Matthew also drew a Maui, so that's a good answer for the second Cusco. We have this one cleaned up, and the next one, less of a problem. Often, so often it is the second Cusco that is like the real problem, right? You use so do your clean answers on the first one.
All right, gonna start with Maleficent Sorceress, drawing a card. Can't play a 5-drop this turn, but can play a 3 or 4, depending on if something is put into the inkwell. Really in the tank is Drago.
Yeah.
Say it.
I'm trying to the planning their turnout, but it seems like they just don't have that many options. So it makes me wonder if basically the question is whether to Cusco or not because of the play you mentioned. But
Right.
it feels like you just can't let that happen to you. So you kind of just have to play your cards and sit there with Cusco and hope you don't get be prepared.
I
So
think
if you have,
hoping you don't get be prepared in the spot. I think it's unlikely you get be prepared in the spot if you don't quest, because your opponent just like has no incentive to blow you up if you're not pushing them. but questing does leave you vulnerable. We're going to return our own Cusco. Now, I haven't read Ward super closely. I'm going to double check that. Ward says, let's see. Let me look at Cusco real quick. Says opponents can't choose this
Yeah.
character except a challenge. So you can bounce your own thing. So really cool play there from Joel to protect his Cusco from that 1-2 punch that we talked about from the Maleficent and the Ursula last turn.
Yeah, and this sort of goes back to what we talked to last turn, right? Like players haven't been using their bounce effects defensively against Be Prepared a lot. So I really like this, like, hey, I only need to have so many lore threes to work. Cusco always gets its value. I have a bunch of pressure on board. My opponent can start loring and catch up, but I'm still going to win the lore race. I'm the Emerald deck. This play makes a lot of sense to me and seems very strong. As
Yeah,
Matthew's still biasing towards these Ursulas, does not want to play the Aladdin.
yeah. I think it's kind of funny that one of the first people I actually saw use a bounce spell aggressively was our director, who's talking in my ear right now, Mr. Taryn Huck, co-owner of Apex Gaming with his brother Kyle. Now, him using a befuddle on his own Lilo one drop was very, very tough for me to beat in one spot, and that gave me a newfound respect for the card befuddle. And now we see Joel Drago doing essentially the same thing with the Mother Knows Best.
Mm-hmm.
The board is swinging it poorly in Drago's favor. Maybe you wish some things had traded last turn with your Cusco. Maybe you wish you bounced the Ursula instead of your own thing. But here we're in a spot where you have to face down 2 Ursulas and a Maleficent, and your deck's not very good at doing that.
Yeah, you need to present a lot of lore, which sort of creates this weird problem of like, okay, we're playing back into the Be Prepared that are we just played around with Mother's Know Best. Um, I will say that, got really sort of punished because we did have another strong play. Obviously we had a land as well, which would have been an issue. But, if Matthew just had like the magic mirror or whatever, last turn's play would be setting us up for a really good spot here still to win the race. However, it's not the world we live in.
All right, here's Cusco. Pascal can quest for 1. Maleficents can trade.
I like trading with the Maleficents because it removes the line we talked about last turn. Otherwise, an Ursula might just eat your Maleficent if you decide to quest with it. So might as well get theirs off the board, right? Because they're incentivized just to do the exact same play again, get that extra lore.
Now, we do have another Mother Knows Best, and instead of trading Maleficents, you can just play that to bounce an Ursula and kind of reset the board. And I still don't think this is a good spot for Be Prepared. So if I'm Campo, I'm looking to redeploy the Ursula, and Joel kind of wants that to keep happening so that he can potentially draw some way to get out from underneath this other Ursula that's questing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I would just quest Be Prepared, play Ursula, and be very, especially with this Olaf, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. I always
Just
forget that you can sing with Be Prepared. It's so powerful with Ursula. You're right. I think this is a significantly better play.
Yeah, especially when you have the back. If maybe, Matthew didn't have anything else in hand, it would be different for me. But just, your Ursula already replaced herself. And Lord knows Matthew loves Ursula. So we go back in and get another card, lose another lore.
Alrighty, another Ursula comes down. It's the same one that got bounced last turn. We'll see if Drago can come back into this game, but that Ursula, singing to Be Prepared into playing Ursula is devastating. I can't stress how hard it is to come back from that, especially if your opponent still has a ton of resources at their disposal.
Yeah, and we see an aggressive line here from Matthew. We're going to ink the Maui, play the Broom. We're going to pick some card to shuffle back. We're not exactly sure which one yet here, but that's going to put 4 lore in play, so we're 3 turns from winning the game.
You know what I do? I put my opponent's Olaf back in their deck. I want them to draw Olaf.
Yeah, Olaf, definitely sort of a bad one. Not so bad to draw Ursula either. I think I would have biased towards Friends from the Other Side or Be Prepared, since Be Prepared is one of the few ways to beat a Cusco, but
I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure questing to 20 first is a great way to beat a Cusco.
I agree. I think we've
All
got
right.
that covered with the elusive Mickey.
Let's see what Drago can do. Oh, we're just going to pack it in. His hand full of 5-cost 2/4s. Not going to be able to do anything against Campo's incredible draw there. And these players are done with that game. The Ruby Amethyst deck coming out on top.
Yeah, and I really respect it from Joel there. Sort of knows like, hey, these games go long. My deck has some grind to it. I need to just pick up the cards now. I'm like maybe less than 1% to win, and I'm very live to win 2 games if I just actually play my game. So let's pick them up.
All right. As these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I just want to take a moment to shout out our sponsors, TCGplayer.com. TCG Player is your one-stop shop for all things in the TCG space. Their advanced marketplace is perfect for stores and players alike. If you want to sell cards, make sure to check out TCGplayer.com. If you're looking for cards for any of your collectible games, make sure to check them out as well. Also, shout out to G Fuel Energy Formula for keeping us energized throughout these long days of coverage. I know that when I play a tournament, I usually need some sort of Red Bull or something along the way, and G Fuel Energy has got you covered. And most of their stuff is sugar free too, which is nice. I
Yeah.
also like to say thanks to Wings Etc. Grill and Pub whenever we're in Caldwell. It's one of our favorite places to eat. It's a great atmosphere. They got TVs for days so you can watch some cool sports and stuff. And I'd also like to say thank you so much to Ultimate Guard for providing our players with some awesome swag that we give away to our invitational qualifier top eights for Magic. I'm not sure what we're doing for them just yet for the Lorcana stuff, but we're working on that.
Nice. We are going to see, I think, a mulligan from 4 for both players. Sorry, 3 for Joel, 4 for Matthew.
All right. Matthew is looking for way more than 4. It looked like 6
Yeah.
on that one. So he's just trying to find some very specific low to the ground interaction to protect himself from the early aggressive drops featuring Flynn Rider and company.
All right, and we're going to be underway here with Joel on the play. Got a lot of strong 1-drops. See how it plays out. It is interesting to see how much Lilo sees play in the Amber decks and how little Maleficent sees play out of the Amethyst decks.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the nature of the bodyguard mechanic. If you don't have a way to protect Maleficent or the Lilo, they're significantly worse because people are prepared with those cheap one cost 1/3s as well as goons and even stuff like Gaston. So you really just absolutely need ways in the early turns to protect them, and you just don't have that in Amethyst. And you do have it in Amber with maybe one of the best cards in the game, Simba Bodyguard on 2.
Yes, Simba Bodyguard definitely leaves some of the best curves. As Corella Deville gets played here for Joel. And, Matthew immediately needs to start having some answers where we're going to start taking away at this lore.
All right, so let's get Corella Deville on the screen because this is one we haven't seen yet today. It's an aggressive 2-cost 1/3 that only quests for 1. This is one I would like to see quest for 2, but maybe that would make it a little too strong. But she says if a player, when this character is challenged and banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. And the ability is called You'll Be Sorry. So basically, if you want to challenge Corella, even if you eat her whole, you're getting bounced back to the hand. And if you sequence poorly, Corella can sometimes disrupt your whole turn by bouncing something else after it gets challenged by one of your other characters. So one you got to really keep an eye on in how you sequence.
Yeah, and a great way to protect Pascal too, right?
All right, quest for 1. No quest from Cruella. I guess doesn't care about bouncing the Gaston, so I like waiting. Punishing later when the board gets more gummed up. Third ink for Campo. Let's see if he's got Rafiki, friends on the other side, something like that. Looks like he's thumbing in Aladdin. It's going to drain for 1 and then allow for a big shift later on if Campo has access to that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like playing Aladdin here because it lets you French on the other side next turn. And Joel is not going to do a very good job of punishing your Aladdin. Not like the Amber Steel aggro decks we saw earlier, which could actually kill an Aladdin pretty easily. So I like developing this here. Get on board, and you'll be able to maybe shift later, and you just get to do this in the next turn and have more mana. But looks like we're choosing to really value protecting the Aladdin. It's probably to set up that shift here on turn number 5.
Yeah, I like it. All right, gonna go back Drago's way. Just a draw 2 from Campo, and we're gonna look to deploy some more pressure. No sweepers at the ready, so Cheshire gonna quest. Pascal gonna quest for sure. I'm pretty sure Cruella's gonna quest too. I think at this point you just want everything you can get, and if Gaston's not trading for Cheshire, I think you're more than happy about it.
Yeah, Cheshire represents like 4 lore in that way, right? Where your Corella only ever does like 1.
Right.
So this is a very
Disagrees.
good turn.
It disagrees. It's okay. Well, we're going for a different line. Saving the Cruella until the opponent has a big board, I think, is good. So don't sweat on Joel for doing that. I'm pretty sure that was an inked Mother Knows Best. We're going to have to pause the match. Please go stop them.
As we do get an attack here on the Cheshire or the Gaston. We do have 2 Cuscos in hand. No, wrong player.
Yeah.
That's a
it's a Flynn Rider. Excuse me. All right. Just double checking. He did. I don't even think he revealed it.
No, yeah, he flashed it to the opponent, but players do it quickly. Very easy to dexterity error a card like that.
Also, those 2 cards look similar. That's my apologies. All right, back into the game. Gaston trades for Cheshire Cat. We're gonna play Queen as an ink. Let's see what our 4-drop is. Tinkerbell with evasive here looks quite good. Tough to deal with. There's Pongo. Pongo's got evasive too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right, no, go ahead.
This is a tech card we talked about last round to answer things like Tinkerbell, like Pascal, and hopefully it pays off here for Matthew, who is up a game.
All right, question for 4, up to 9. Gonna allow the Pongo to eat the Pascal, perhaps an oversight, but maybe just doesn't care. Nope, gonna Mother Knows Best. Return Pongo to hand. That's a bad dog. Bad dog. Sorry. You can't say that.
And this play from Joel really puts him in a commanding position. 4 more lore next turn, and we're quickly getting out of hand. And it's before the Be Prepared is going to happen. So it looks like we might even ink this Aladdin. Feels like the Aladdin is our way out of it. Act like Archimedes, and you just play Mirror and Aladdin this turn. You gain the lore back from them, then you drain lore, and then suddenly you Be Prepared and you're fine.
All right. Well, we got a lot of decisions for Matthew Campo. If he's able to take this game down, it will give him the match, but he's very far behind on lore and on board. Looks like there's a Rafiki hanging out there. Can get that one down and challenge the Cruella, but it's just going to bounce the Rafiki back to hand. Perhaps Pongo plus Archimedes can be the play for the turn. With Cruella only questing for 1, I'm really not a big fan of the Rafiki here. I think Aladdin into Big Aladdin is the way out. But it's a tough way out.
It is tough, but I think it is the way. So this Archimedes, I think, is bait. I think it needs to be your mana. Your hand is so strong, you need to make all your land drops. There we go.
Getting the Inkwell juiced up. I mean, look, the deck plays a bunch of non-inkables. Your turns are often bottlenecked because of it. And I think playing the Archimedes makes some sense because you can challenge Cruella with it. Oh, no, Cruella's even a 1/3, so you can't. But it's tough. Yeah. It's fine to just ink it for sure.
Yeah, I think that pocket watch is not long for this world either, because I think our hand is the rest is uninkables per usual with these Ruby Amethyst control decks.
All right, there's Cusco. We're gonna go question with the evasives. That's +3. No quest with the Cruella because you don't want to leave it vulnerable to the shifted Aladdin. Heads up play there from Drago.
Yeah. Really smart type play there. We've seen Drago do this a couple times where shown a lot of respect for certain cards and has played really well accordingly. And so it's cool to see it happen here as players get better and better at playing against these cards. The pocket watch is inked.
All right, what can you do? Cusco has Ward. Those other 2 characters have evasive. And Cruella, well, Cruella's just hanging out.
Yeah. It feels like Dragonfire down the Tinkerbell has to be the thing to start this turn. You don't have a Be Prepared yet. You could play Pongo to attack the stuff, but that opens you up to the bounce spells again, and the Dragonfire is so clunky, and there will just be other elusive things as the game goes on.
What if I told you that Dragonfire is not going to save you, and so you should draw a card with the Magic Mirror?
I think that's reasonable.
See, I think 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the Drago is able to get up to 18 next turn, but it's like Be Prepared or bust. There's like no real way out.
Yeah, you gotta quest. You needed to quest the Aladdin so that maybe Joel makes a mistake and attacks the Aladdin down and buys you a little bit of time because you do
Maybe.
not have to be prepared. And it holding back untapped is not really going to get you anywhere.
That's fair. All right, Drago in the tank here. This is probably the most important turn for him this game. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be quest with everything and then play nothing. Just being afraid of be prepared. He doesn't know that Compo doesn't have it, and because of that, Compo might not be able to. Or Compo might actually be able to buy some time because Drago has very little incentive to play another character.
Well, wait, does Draco have the bounce spell? Because if he does, he could maybe bounce the Aladdin.
Ooh, maybe. All right. Well, now the Cusco is ready to be shifted. Or ready to be shifted and attacked. Pongo can eat Pascal, and that will stifle a lot of the bleeding.
Yeah, this is a huge moment here. We are going to lose our Aladdin to kill the Cusco, but it's going to be okay. You just getting Joel down to 15 lore is a big part of the turn here for just staying alive.
Yeah, I'm also very not into not questing with Cruella last turn. I think it's just a missed lore.
Yep. Yeah, I think if Corella gets attacked or whatever and the Aladdin gets bounced to our hand, it is
great.
A-okay.
Yeah, perfect. You send something at Cruella? Awesome.
Oh, it looks like we have a tiny Elsa in hand.
Just a little baby Elsa.
Yeah.
That's for questing. Looks like Campo found a befuddle, choosing not to ink it and not to play it. Maybe saving that for something else down the line. But the game's coming to a close here. We're going to quest for 3. Going to put us up to 18. Maybe Drago thinking in the back of his mind, maybe that missed lore. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me. Here's a Mad Hatter. Going to save Cusco that's in hand for the post. Be prepared. And it looks like Campo doesn't have it anyway. So I think this one's going to go Campo's way.
Well,
Or sorry, Dragon's way, excuse me.
Campo gets to Dragonfire the Hatter, attack the Tinkerbell, and then go to
lethal.
Yeah.
2/3.
Oh, it's a 2/3. Oh, sorry, my mistake. I thought it was a 3/2. That's all me. Well, then
No,
that wouldn't be a
that's
very good play.
the Peter Pan that has evasive cost 3, and you see them often together in Emerald, but the difference is that third point of willpower, right?
Yeah.
Like other evasive characters pretty regularly only have 2 strength, and I just love all the extra abilities on the Tinkerbell. I love being able to give something evasive either on your own stuff to challenge an opposing evasive character, or on your opponent's stuff to make it so that their bodyguard's no longer bodyguard. Just a very cool card.
I agree. It's a very, very sick and powerful card. This is honestly why I kind of like a lot of people play Pongo, but I think Tigger is just better if you're trying to have an evasive thing. I don't know. Eating the other evasive creatures feels very important to me if you're going to do that, but I have to see how these players go. I do think you were right, though. The turn we played Pongo, like, we had to either Dragonfire down the Tinkerbell to save lore, or we needed to draw a card and draw Be Prepared.
All right, well, these players are getting ready here for game number 3 because they are under the gun vis-a-vis clock. They both know it. Joel Drago has 2 draws already. Matthew Campo has a draw. I think a draw for Campo probably knocks him out of the tournament, but a draw for Drago actually puts him effectively to a 3. Sorry, excuse me. That's essentially just the same as 3 wins, right? 2-0-3. Yeah, so that's actually bad for him too. So I think a draw for either player kills them. So they should both be playing quickly and with the intent to finish the match, which they have been so far.
Yeah, they definitely have been. And a lot of this too, I think really is just players being new to Lorcana. And it's just, especially here, right? Like there's a lot on the line. There's top 8, which is going to get you your money back plus extra. There's $500, right, if you win. And then there's also the Invitational, which is, a $2,000 prize pool, 16 players, and you get the chance to play against some great players that maybe just normally wouldn't get to play or meet. So there's a lot on the line, both prestige and money, and that's going to lead to some nerves and some slowing down of the plays. But
this,
we're playing competitive Lorcana is going fast.
Yep. This is a 5-round Swiss event. We had 27 players joining. They're playing for $2,000 cash, as well as an invite to that invitational that we are having. That's October 20th weekend. And Mason, you're going to be in that event, yeah?
Yeah, I'm battling it out. I'm really excited to play. I'm gonna show up on the 19th, pretty late at night, but then hang out on the 20th, see some LCQs and stuff, and game a little. It's gonna be fun.
Well, Mason has been replaced by Robot Mason, but hopefully that clears up. Not your fault. Not your fault. We'll just say internet issues. I know you live in Tennessee.
Am I better now?
That's fine. You're still sporkling. It's okay. All right. So, friends on the other side, we're going to draw 2 cards. This is the problem for doing this at home, chat, because sometimes things like this happen. It's okay, though. He'll be back to normal in a moment, I'm sure. I bet there's like a bank near your house that's just like uploading tons of data all at once. That used to happen to me all the time, and it would just like ruin my internet for like half an hour. It was great.
Well, I did run my speed test, and I've got 500 megabytes per second download. So
That's the problem, Mason. It's not download speed that matters for streaming. It's upload speeds.
I've got 50 on the up. This is crazy.
All right. Oh, you sound good now. It's okay. It was temporary. I knew it was temporary.
Nice. Nice.
Back to the game. We got Cruella DeVille gonna get punched in the face by Rafiki, and it's gonna get bounced. Return to hand. Still have ink to play here because we did play Friends of the Other Side last turn. Looks like we're leaning towards playing the Queen as ink. Valuing that, I believe that's a Gaston in hand pretty highly, so maybe you're going to go for a Rafiki Gaston hyper defensive play next turn. Now back Drago's way, we're going to play Friends on the Other Side. We're going to draw 2 by singing it.
Yeah, and we're seeing, not a whole lot of pressure here from Joel, and we're getting close to the mid game for Matthew, which is where he's going to really start to shine. So Joel needs to do something soon that's going to put some pressure on Matthew.
All right, we're going to play Tinkerbell 4. Can we get this Emerald Tinkerbell on screen? We've been talking about it a lot. Haven't actually taken a good hard look at it, but this is a 4-cost Emerald Tinkerbell. It's a 2/3 that quests for 2, so pretty decent stats on this evasive character. And it says when you play this character, chosen character gains evasive this turn. Now, evasive is usually an aggressive ability, but the Pixie Dust is more defensive because you can make your stuff gain evasive to challenge an opposing evasive character, or you can give an opposing bodyguard evasive so you can challenge their non-evasive characters. So really cool card is Tinkerbell, most helpful, and something that you're going to see more and more out of Emerald decks if I have anything to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's Maleficent. I'm going to draw a card.
Little Cruella into ink into the Cruella in play, maybe? Ah, Pascal.
Just a little guy, and Tink's going to gain some lore, up to 3. Going to go back Campo's way. Out of order on tapping. All right, can't challenge with the Rafiki, so it looks like we're thumbing this Friends on the Other Side to play for free off the song. Here we go. Draw 2.
Love this. We're gonna start playing big things every turn, sort of for the rest of the game. So this is a great turn to sort of Friends on the Other Side, develop your ink a little bit, and then just Dragonfire down the Tinkerbell or whatever, and just put yourself in a commanding position.
Yeah, normally you want to save your Dragonfire for very large things, but this Emerald Amethyst deck is not a deck full of very large things. In fact, the largest thing, or one of the largest things, is Cusco, which has Ward, which means that you can't target it anyway. The other 5-drop is Mad Hatter, which is so small on the body that really you're just killing it so they don't get to quest for 3. Overall, though, like you just got to fire them off when you're behind, right? Like you're having to trade down on ink, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think an important thing to remember on these evasive creatures is they are hard for you to answer, and so they are big, right? Like Tink is representing 4 lore now, right? That's how much she got, which is so much more than something like Mad Hatter or even Cusco, because Cusco so often gets Mauied. So getting them now, especially when your opponent's on low lore, right? Because so much of their game plan is like, all right, I'll get you to 15 and then I'll figure it out. So getting it taken care of now puts you in a much better position for later.
All right, we're going to do some questing, challenging, maybe both. Quest for 3, up to 6. And now we'll see if Drago wants to commit more to this board. Next turn, Campo could play a Be Prepared. We're at 6 ink already.
Mhm.
I think something like Cusco would almost certainly guarantee a Be Prepared gets played if it's there. It's just threatening so much lore generation without the ability to handle it. All right, Drago, what you got? I see a Maleficent. I see a Rafiki. Our friends on the other side. All looking pretty good. I think any two of these spells is fine as well to play.
Yeah, and this is part of why the early turns are so important, right? Like getting early large amounts of lore means that we can then sort of play around cards a little bit more. It is harder to play around cards because we don't have the pressure on Matthew, and Matthew's going to start slamming the one big thing a turn, the Ursulas, the Aladdins, etc. And so lots of good options here, but you're kind of forced into sort of almost maximizing for lore above all else, even if it means playing into cards, because you just have to do that with your deck. As we do see Matthew very quickly double lore, probably a sign that you need to be prepared.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy sweeper turn, but for Joel Drago, you're pretty happy with that about that because this is maybe their best spell, and it's one of their few ways to get rid of a Cusco. So if you just followed up with Cusco here, you're pretty much guaranteed to be able to get 3 lore and trade for one of their big things that they're going to play next turn.
Agreed. Yeah, if you can play Cusco here and then maybe Mothers Know Best, a creature they develop to threaten the Cusco, like in Aladdin, that is huge. And we've seen Joel set up these kind of plays time and time again. I've been very impressed by how heads up Joel has been about what is going on in the opponent's deck.
All right, here's an Ursula. I'm going to drain a lore, draw a card, stifle the bleeding a little bit, stem the bleeding. I keep saying stifle the bleeding. You get it.
Yeah,
You get it.
I got you.
All right, we're gonna ink Baby Elsa. I say baby, it's the 2-drop or the 4-drop one, which I actually like quite a bit. Its stats are decent. It's just 4/4/1, but
Yeah, 4/4/1 and tapping down some opponent's thing in your deck that plays Aladdin is very good.
nah, wrong one. There's 2 different Baby Elsas.
Oh, that wasn't the tapper one?
No, the Tapper one's like a 3-cost 2/3 with Inkable,
I
and
would have
there's a
sworn that was the tapper one.
yeah, you know.
Damn. All right. So someone clip it and send it to me. Let me know.
There's one.
Yeah, that was not the one that was just played.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, my bad.
It was the tapper
I
one.
just said Baby Elsa. Whatever. Give me a break.
I think that one's in the new set. Is that one even legal?
The 4-cost 4/4. Yeah, that one's legal.
Okay. All right.
It's just not very good. All right, here is a big sweeper effect. Here's Be Prepared number 2, followed by another Ursula. The first Ursula was able to sing it, and now things are looking pretty grim for Joel Drago. Does have access to another Cusco in hand, but is not very close to winning, and Matthew Campo is slowly taking over this game.
Yep, and this is part of why Ursula is such a big part of these decks, right? We've talked about how removing lore from your opponent is really big in Lorcana, and compared to other games, gaining life is nice. She replaces herself, but also singing Be Prepared, so that you sort of force your opponent to commit to the board because your Ursula threatens so much lore. You can't really play around it, and then you get to redevelop again. And so Matthew's actually presenting the exact same problem to Joel here now, where it's like, are you going to commit a bunch to the board? Because I'll just Be Prepared again if I have it. It's fine.
All right, Cusco number 3 is the deploy for Joel Drago, and I think we're in some trouble though. Only at 8 lore. We're going to start with friends on the other side. Does Matthew Campo, and we'll see if he's able to get some more pressure down. Gonna ink a broom. We got space for another 7. Is this Ursula again?
Well, we also have Pocket Watch and Maleficent in hand, and playing those two sets us up really well because then we can Aladdin out of nowhere, where our opponent might have like a way to unsummon the Aladdin. Yeah, I love this play. So heads up for Matthew and puts him in a commanding position with his opponent never knowing it.
Well, you're not going to give him crap for playing the Pocket Watch, then the Maleficent. You were Getting
listen.
ornery about that earlier.
I am so mad about it so much that anyone just actually thinking ahead makes me so happy that I'm giving them that.
Okay. All right, back Drago's way. Pocket watch looming. That means that any time you quest could be facing down the barrel of an Aladdin heroic outlaw. As we all know, that Floodborn 7-drop version of Aladdin is quite powerful, especially with Pocket Watch against these aggressive decks.
Yeah, and that is something that is really hard to like fully think about until it kind of happens to you the first time, like how chilling of an effect it has. Because right now, we can have Ursula attack Cusco and then Maleficent attack and play some other big threat, and then you develop something else as Joel, and then Aladdin gets you, if you want to keep your Aladdin around. Trading your Aladdin for a Cusco is also very good, but just a lot of options available to Matthew here, and it's going to get out of hand really quickly. I really don't hate just Aladdin, give Aladdin rush, take down the Cusco, quest for 4, put yourself up to 11, Joel down to 9, and you're just winning the race pretty hard. And Joel can't win races. The deck just does not have the tools to do that without things like Genie.
What if instead I told you Maleficent eating the Hatter and then getting haste and eating the Cusco was better?
How does Maleficent eat the Hatter?
He doesn't. I thought he had Monstrous Dragon in hand. He doesn't. All right, whatever.
Yeah, I still just don't think it would be better. I think just getting the shift on it is just so much.
All right, so we're Pocket Watch giving the Elsa rush. That's going to take down the Cusco. And then the Mad Hatter is frozen for a turn, so we're just going to quest for 4. And we're going to go back Drago's way, and it's 11 to 9 with Drago's Mad Hatter staying exerted for the time being, thanks to the Elsa.
And this is sort of, now with Matthew at 9, it is going to be very close before he's taking over the game. And we know that Aladdin's coming down at some point for probably this Hatter.
I see a Mother Knows Best in hand, so we might want to use that to bounce Ursula. But unfortunately, the Pocket Watch makes all those bounce effects significantly worse thanks to the rush mechanic. Here's
All right.
Tinkerbell. This is going to be a start. This is evasive.
Yeah, Tinkerbell's a nice one here. It looks like we're also thumbing the Hans to the front. That's another way to get a bunch of lore. And we're in the racing stage now, because if we try to do anything else, Matthew's going to get us. So Mother's Know Best is a good way to keep the race in your favor. But you do just need to keep the pressure up. So I love the Tinkerbell. It's probably going to be 4 to 6 lore this game.
Someone in the chat found the best line for the previous turn. It was Elsa frees both things. Elsa haste attacks the Mad Hatter. And then we go Ursula deals 2 to the Cusco, not killing it. And then Maleficent finishes off the Cusco. I think that was the money play.
Oh, interesting.
All right, here's Aladdin, though. That, with the Pocket Watch, is going to chew up this Hatter and gain some lore and steal some lore. A really big shift for Matthew Campo.
Yep. Swapping life totals here, super big. Obviously, giving Joel a card, not anything you kind of want to do. But this Aladdin now in play 2 threatens so much. So and Matthew looking to maybe wants to ink the Maleficent instead of the Gaston. Wants to hold the Gaston for later.
All right. Well, we're going to go back Drago's way in just a moment. We'll see what he's got. Cards off to the side. Hand is decently large, but how useful is it? All right. Rafiki going to trade with the Aladdin. I like that start. Now it looks like we're probably going to go for a Hans.
Your Rafiki was great here. This allows Matthew to not be so far ahead, and Joel can start to catch up because the lore difference is so big here. Now, Ursula will lore a lot and take a little away, but Joel is in kind of a position to maybe actually race if we can keep drawing 3 lorers off the top. That Dragonfire we had from forever is still just in our hand too, so that might be a clean answer to something like the Tinkerbell now.
All right, back Campo's way. We got Hans, we got Tinkerbell. Here is Elsa. That's going to lock him down. This big finisher from Amethyst is so hard to beat when we're in a racing scenario. Elsa does get rush from that Y Rabbit's pocket watch, so it will kill the Hans, and then we're going to quest for 1. If you're Drago here, I think this is actually a decent spot to use Tinkerbell defensively and eat the Maleficent. You're in a racing scenario, but you're in one that I think that you're losing. And because of that, I think just taking 1 lore off your opponent's side of the table is pretty good. Oh,
Well,
no, but it's
can't
frozen.
tell,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go. That's
It
the
is
most I can do without getting DMCA'd.
sure. Yeah. I thought you were just playing the music personally. I didn't realize you were singing it.
I love
Yep.
you. You're great. I'm going to have you on more often.
Yeah. As we do see double big creatures coming down. That's a ton of lore. And this is what we talked about. Joel can't play around, be prepared, has to initiate the race, is gonna, be in an awkward spot for it. But that's what my deck does. I gotta race.
All right. Well, here we're going to go exerting some ink. We're going to see if we can get some defenses going. And here we have Dragonfire targeting the Tinkerbell. According to you, this should have happened long ago, yeah?
Yeah, the Tinkerbells have done a lot of loring. That's all I'm saying, Um
And another Ursula. My man Campo loves Ursula.
Yeah. I think Ursula might be Matthew Campo's favorite card, as we are going to see probably here a quest for 4. Yeah, going up to 17. And now, how is Joel supposed to answer, this Elsa and this Ursula? And, the Maleficent doesn't need to be answered right away, but is representing, like you mentioned, a little bit of chip damage, and that could be the difference.
Yeah, with Campo at 17, having to get rid of the Elsa and the Cruella is just too much. Even if you can stop it for a turn, you're not going to stop the torrent, right? It's going to happen every single turn. Your interaction is bounce based. It's going to come down, draw a card, steal lore from you. It's going to make it effectively impossible for you to win via bounce effects. Only 2 cards in Drago's hand. You're not threatening lethal by any means with your questing. Looks like Megara and well, okay, maybe that's something. We can go Megara pumping Jasper and then bounce Ursula, and then we can trade Jasper for Elsa and then bounce the Maleficent, and then maybe even use Cusco to eat the Maleficent, but I think questing's probably more valuable.
Yeah, I think what you actually have to maybe do is you actually quest with that guy that we just pumped up and make it so Elsa can't quest by questing, and then you bounce the Ursula and you just initiate a race and you force Matthew to answer your board even more so, because killing it there basically means we can never really win the race, because Ursula is just going to drain the lore back again down to 12, and even an unanswered board, we're not going to be able to do it over 2 turns. And the Ursula is like boom, boom, boom. So I think Joel's going to need some way, maybe like a French on the other side, if they're going to get out of this. But Matthew Campo just needs to keep turning cards sideways and present bodies that can lore.
All right. Campo. Gonna be prepared.
Yeah.
Following that up with a queen.
I like this, just whatever. Cusco's like the one way. If my opponent just draws a bunch of French on the other sides in a row, Cusco they need to have in play. So this forces them to have the French on the other side and more. And congratulations, Matthew Campo, top 8ing our event here.
Yeah, that's going to put him at 2-1-1, which should give him a record that is good enough for making our top 8. And if he's able to take down that top 8, he'll win $500 and an invite to our invitational in October. This is the first invitational qualifier we are playing here to qualify for that invitational on October 20th weekend. We have another one of these events that's going to be happening on October the 14th. We're going to be streaming that very similarly to how we're streaming it today. And then for the big main event on October 20th, myself and some of the Lost Boys are going to come up to Caldwell, Ohio, and we're going to put on one heck of a show.